Hey guys, so welcome to another live stream. So let's see what's happening. Yeah, so it looks like we're live. So hey guys, so welcome to another. Sorry, just bear with me a minute, guys. I'm still getting used to this new software. I don't know what's going on. Where are we? So, hey Darnell, how's it going? Hi, so where are we? So just wait for a few more viewers to join in. So how's the connection, Darnell? Is it audio good? Video good? Looks alright. So looks good. Great, thank you. So we've got 2 viewers so far. Just wait for a few more viewers to log on. Hey Eliza, thank you. Glad you like the background. Isis. So okay, so just trying to work out the best way to view this. It's a bit weird, like live streaming and not being able to see yourself. So maybe if I do this and this. Oh dear, no, I've frozen. What's happened? Back. Sorry guys. Okay, so I think we're sorted now. So this looks good. Hey Bobby. So if you guys just let me know if there's any issues with the image or sound, which I'm sure you would do anyway. So what's going on here now? Oh, that was when it was frozen. I think it froze temporarily. I think we should be back now. Yeah, I'm moving again now. Okay, so the theme of today's live stream, in case you haven't guessed, is ancient Egypt and the extraterrestrial connection. So this is quite a famous book, the Ra material, the Law of One. And of course Ra is Horus, by the way. So Ra was the original name of Horus. I'm fairly sure this is correct. And so every time you hear the name Horus referring to ancient Egypt, they're actually referring to Ra, which was the older name, but he got renamed Horus. So Horus and Ra are the same being. And of course Ra is the famous entity from ancient Egypt. I wonder if I can get a picture up of Ra. So add image browse. So did I? Oh gosh, what have I done? Ah, there we are. Sorry guys, I'm amateurish live streaming. I'll be more prepared in the future. I'm still learning this software. So this is Ra. This is Ra. Hey Saint Falcon. Hello, hey friend. It would be awesome to hear some channeled information regarding the voids and discoveries made in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Yeah, I'll bear that in mind. I'll see what I can bring through in the future. I don't think I'm going to be channeling tonight. That would be like some pretty intense channeling, so I'd have to get in like a good channeling state. So I don't think I'm quite prepared for that now. But yeah, great suggestion, Saint Falcon. I like your logo image, by the way, the Bashar image. So here is Ra. So this is Ra, Horus, same being. So of course quite famous in ancient Egypt, and also famous in this book, the Ra material, channeled by Kyla Roykert. Kyla. Come on, camera. Hawkins, Roykert, McCarthy, yeah. So the Ra material, channeled by Kyla Roykert, is the same Ra of ancient Egypt, and is possibly also the same Ra that Corey Good speaks of, Ra T Air. So maybe we can start. So I open the pages at a random page, and what we got was questioner. Was the pyramid built by the mutual action of many? Ra. I am Ra. The pyramids which were thought built, the pyramids which were thought stroke built, were constructed thought forms created by our social memory complex. So what Ra is talking about here is Ra refers to himself as a social memory complex, because although Ra is an individual, as we see the bird being, the blue avian sometimes called to the avian extraterrestrial. Hey Lady Laser. Oh yeah, although Ra was a manifestation, although Ra was an individual extraterrestrial manifest in the form of Horus, Ra is actually a sixth density social memory complex. So a social complex means a collective consciousness, in the way I channel the Yael as a collective consciousness, or the Sasani as a collective consciousness. This is what Ra would call a social memory complex, a collective consciousness. What I call a collective consciousness, what Ra calls a social memory complex. So yeah, so in this Ra is taught, so Ra says the pyramids which we thought stroke built. So Ra here is pointing to the idea that Ra manifested the Great Pyramid out of consciousness. He instantaneously manifested it through thought form. So this is what I believe Ra is pointing to. So the pyramids which we thought built, manifested out our consciousness, were constructed thought forms created by our social memory complex. So basically Ra is saying that he manifested the Great Pyramid out of his consciousness in instantaneous manifestation, but not an individual, as a we, as the collective consciousness, as his sixth density form, as his truer nature, not his manifest physical body in the avian form. So, questioner, then the rock was created in place rather than moved from someplace else. Is that correct? Ra. I am Ra. We built with everlasting rock the Great Pyramid, as you call it. Other of the pyramids were built with stone moved from one place to another. Yeah, so it sounds like what Ra is saying, that yes, he agrees with the questioner that the rock was created in place. Like they didn't like move the rock; it was just instantaneously manifested. But what Ra is saying is that this is only the Great Pyramid that they did like this. The smaller pyramids were actually built by hand, and moved the stone. So, questioner, what is everlasting rock? Ra, I am Ra. If you can understand the concept of thought forms, you will realize that the thought form is more regular in its distortion than the energy fields created by the materials in the rock, which has been created through thought form, from thought to finite energy and beingness in your, shall we say, distorted reflection of the level of the thought form. May we answer you in a more helpful way? Well, that was an interesting answer. It's quite intense reading this this Law of One. I'd highly recommend it. This is awesome material. It's really highly regarded as some of the best spiritual material on the planet. A lot of modern spiritual teachings actually stem from this material. Yeah, thanks, Lady Laser. You like my new setup? Cool. So I'm trying to translate this Ra material, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't understand this myself. So let me just quickly read through this again. Yeah, so I think what Ra is saying here, so he's saying, if you can understand the concept of thought forms, you will realise that the thought form is more regular in its distortion than the energy fields created by the materials in the rock, which has been created through thought form, from thought to finite energy and beingness in your, shall we say, distorted reflection of the level of the thought form. So I think what Ra is saying here is that everything is created from thought form, because we create our reality from our thought form. So the rock, the rock we built houses with, or bricks that we built houses with, or whatever, it's all created out of thought form, but it's created through the human thought form and the co-agreed upon reality we have created in our reality. And what he's saying is this thought form created rock, like normal stone in a normal reality, it's all created out of thought form, because we all create our transmissions, because we all create, because everything is created from thought form. But what he's saying is the thought form created rock, our regular rocks, are more distorted. Ra always talks about distortions and distortions of truth. Everything is a distortion of truth. Like the only thing that is not distorted is like pure consciousness, all that is, the one, the ultimate reality. And everything from that level down is a distortion of consciousness. So I guess we could say the first distortion is like the angels, because they were one of the first manifestations. So angels transmit some of the, perhaps an angel is the least distorted manifestation of the one, of God, because an angel is like very pure in its manifestation. It's a very clear reflection. It's a very pure reflection of the one, of the infinite. So there is very little distortion in an angel. And then we perhaps come down a bit lower into like a fourth density extraterrestrial, and their wisdom, their beingness, their perception of creation, and their how they transmit their knowledge is even more distorted. So it's, although it's quite a clear truth, it's not as pure as the understanding of the angels, and it's not as pure as the one consciousness, because as we come more and more further down into physical reality, there will always be more and more distortions, to the point where we come to a human existence where our reality is totally distorted and we don't understand the nature of reality at all. So yes, so what Ra is saying is that the thought form created rock that normally appears in our physical reality is more distorted than the thought form created rock that Ra created instantaneously to manifest the Giza pyramid, the Great Pyramid. So there's less distortion in the nature of the rock in the Great Pyramid. So I think this is what Ra is saying. So Ra then says, may we answer you in any more helpful way? Questioner, this is rather trivial, but I was wondering why the pyramid was built with many blocks rather than creating the whole thing as one form created at once. Ra, I am Ra. There is a law which we believe to be one of the more significant primal distortions of the law of one. That is the law of confusion. You have called this the law of free will. We wish to make a healing machine, or time-space ratio complex, which was as efficacious as possible. However, we did not desire to allow the mystery to be penetrated by the peoples in such a way that we become worshipped as builders of a miraculous pyramid. Thus it appears to be made, not thought. What Ra was saying here is that the reason he didn't build it as one piece of rock is because it would have been too obvious that it was magic. So it would have gone against the law of free will. It would have in a sense been going against the free will of humanity, because if it was built out of one like 10 million ton block of rock, it would have been very clear that it wasn't built from humans, and like everyone on the planet would have been like, oh my god, how was this built? And it would have like caused like the proof of magic, and that's going against people's free will. It's like forcing the world of magic and the world of thought form manifestation on humans, because it would have been obvious that it was manifested out of thought if it was like one block of rock, because you know humans couldn't possibly have made that. It would have been too much. So Ra's saying here that he's respecting the law of free will, and he manifested it out of multiple rocks to appear to humans that it could have been built by hand, so giving humans the free will to believe that it wasn't built by magic. So, questioner, well, then you speak of the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, I assume, as primarily a healing machine, and also you spoke of it as a device for initiation. Are these one and the same concept? Ra, I am Ra. They are part of one complex of love, light, intent sharing. To use the healing properly, it was important to have a purified and dedicated channel, or energizer, for the love light of the infinite creator to flow through. Thus, the initiatory method was necessary to prepare the mind, the body, and the spirit for service in the Creator's work. The two are integral. So, we've jumped into a little bit of the history of Egypt and how the extraterrestrial connection of Egypt came about. So, according to the Ra material, and this is really powerful material, so I give a lot of validity to this, the pyramid was built by Ra. So where do we go? So does everyone have any questions? Anything we'd like to talk about on this theme of ancient Egypt and the extraterrestrial awakening? So, also someone who I've channeled a little bit is Isis. So Isis is another extraterrestrial, I believe. So Isis was actually the manifestation in physical form of Sirius, the planet Sirius. So Sirius is a manifestation of the divine feminine, and Isis is the physical manifestation of Sirius. So I guess it's in a similar way that Ra was a sixth density social memory complex who manifested in the form of an avian, a bird, so he could communicate with humans. And I think in a similar way, Isis was a manifestation, a physical manifestation. So she took on a physical body so she could manifest on Earth and share the teachings of the goddess, the teachings of the divine feminine to humanity. But ultimately, apparently, Isis was actually Sirius. So Isis is the manifestation of Sirius. So I'm guessing Sirius is a sixth density consciousness. I'm not sure what density planets, stars reside in, but this is my guess. So, and Ra perhaps represents more of the divine masculine, the wisdom, because of course, if you read the Law of One, it's very wisdom-based knowledge. It's a very masculine energy, a very wisdom-based energy, and Isis represented the feminine energy more. So And this is a very integral part of the wisdom of ancient Egypt, the balancing of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. If you look at a lot of modern, I guess we'd call them Hermetic texts, and I guess connected to like Christian mysticism and these sort of things, a lot of these Hermetic texts were passed down from ancient Egypt. And a lot of these images you see on like the tarot cards and this sort of thing are teachings that were passed down from ancient Egypt. I think the way they came into the West is that Moses brought them to Israel. I hope I'm not getting my facts mixed up here. But so Moses, was it Moses? Yeah, I think Moses, yeah, because Moses parted the seas, didn't he? Parted the Red Seas and moved to Egypt. And Moses was a member of the initiatic societies of ancient Egypt. And Moses set up this colony in what is now Israel. And of course, Israel has these teachings, these of the Kabbalah and the Torah, is it? So, and we have Kabbalism, and this stems from ancient Egypt, and a lot of Kabbalism teachings, and we see in these Hermetic texts, and these teachings, they basically stem from ancient Egypt, and a lot of it talks about the balancing of the masculine and the feminine in the consciousness, which refers to the left hand and the right side of the brain. The left hand side of the brain is the masculine side, the calculating side, the mathematical side, and the right side of the brain is the feminine side, and the intuitive side, the nurturing side, the side of love and compassion. And this love and compassion, like this womb energy of holding and creating and wanting to serve through love and compassion. And a lot of the initiatic teachings of ancient Egypt that were passed down through Hermeticism are about the balancing of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So we can use this, and it comes from the story. It is represented in the story of Isis and Osiris and Horus. Yeah, so I guess Ra would be the balanced energy and not the masculine energy. So yeah, so the story goes like this. Isis and Osiris gave birth to Horus. And what this symbolizes is it symbolizes the same as like Mary Magdalene and Jesus Christ giving birth to the divine androgyne, as it talks about in Hermeticism. It's the idea of Isis and Magdalene, Mary Magdalene, representing the divine feminine, and Osiris and Jesus Christ representing the divine masculine. And the idea is that we balance them within ourselves. We balance them because the right hand side of the brain is the intuitive, embracing, loving, compassionate, nurturing womb energy of Isis and Magdalene, Mary Magdalene. And the right side of the brain and the left hand side of the brain is the calculating energy, the doing the action energy of the divine masculine, represented by Osiris and Jesus Christ. And in the story, Isis and Osiris birth Horus. So Horus represents the enlightened being, or Ra represents the fully enlightened being, because Ra is the combination, the birthing of the divine being through the balancing of the divine feminine and the divine masculine in the brain, in the consciousness. And this is how we become enlightened. This is the Egyptian initiatic teachings, and this is also the teachings that are passed down through the Hermetic texts and these secret societies. The idea that the path to enlightenment through this path is the balancing of the masculine and the feminine. And when we balance the wisdom and the love, we birth the true androgyne, as it's called in the mystery schools and the Hermetic text, the divine androgyne, or Ra, Horus, in ancient Egypt. So what this points to is that the path to enlightenment, self-realization, is through the balancing of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So we can spend a lot of time reading material like this, which is very masculine oriented, very knowledge based, knowledge, wisdom, masculine wisdom. But we also need to learn the knowledge, learn the wisdom, but we also need to balance it with the compassion and the love and the creative potential of the divine feminine within us. Because the divine masculine, represented in Hinduism by Shiva, or in one form of Shiva, is the pure potential, like the pure consciousness. The potential of consciousness is the divine masculine. But without the divine feminine, there is no creative impetus, because love is the creative potential of creation. Love moves out like water and creates. And there is no real creative power without the divine feminine. And this is why humanity has got so messed up and it's destroying itself, because the Romans turned Christianity into a patriarchy, a very masculine dominated religion, and they rubbed out all the Mary Magdalene or the divine feminine side of Christianity. And of course Christianity dominated the West, and this is the reason why we're all warring and destroying, and we can create all this technology but it's not achieving anything. It's actually destroying the planet, because we're way too masculine dominated. We've got the masculine knowledge, the potential of creation to manifest in the world, but we've got no love, no compassion, and no desire to create and help and nurture and evolve. So this is why humanity has become so destructive, and we're destroying the planet. We've got all this technology, all this wisdom, and we're evolving at such a rate, yet it's actually having a negative impact on society. We're polluting the seas, we're destroying the forests, the planet is dying. Westerners are becoming more and more depressed. Easterners are becoming more and more poor. It's because we're way too dominated to the divine masculine. So what we need is we need the divine feminine to give us impetus, to give us drive, to give us love, to move in a certain direction. So we have the divine masculine power represented by Shiva and Isis and Christ, but we need to balance this with the love and compassion and the nurturing womb consciousness of Mary Magdalene and Isis and Shakti. Shakti is one representation of this, I believe, in Hinduism, or I can't remember the name of the Hindu goddess, but this is. But we often see this balanced in Shiva as well. There's actually a version of Shiva that is masculine and feminine, the enlightened version of Shiva. And Parvati, is Parvati a representation of divine feminine in Hinduism? So what we need to do, how we can use this within ourselves, is perhaps in myself I was too imbalanced towards the masculine, towards the wisdom aspect. I was studying a lot of Bashar, a lot of Ra material. I was channeling the Yaya myself. I was channeling a lot of wisdom-based knowledge about self-realization and transcending reality and becoming the one. But there was no love, there was no feminine balance, and this was where the imbalance was with me. And I think this is a part of the initiation that I've gone through over the last few months, is I was becoming too imbalanced towards the masculine, too imbalanced towards wisdom, too imbalanced towards knowledge. And what this was occurring to me is that I was losing the true excitement, because perhaps what Bashar talks about when following our excitement, he's pointing us back to our heart. He's pointing us back to the creative potential of the divine feminine, the love. So I sort of went through this period where recently I sort of gone through a sort of tower card. If you know the tower in the tarot, like my life started to collapse. It was like I was doing all this channeling, but it wasn't feeling right. I had to stop. I had to cut down my channeling drastically. I was losing momentum, and I realized now it's because I'd lost the love, I'd lost the compassion, and I had to go through this initiation of discovering the love and the compassion and the divine feminine and the goddess within myself. And now that I found that, now that I sort of surrendered and dropped back and got back into what was truly exciting me and my inspiration, I've got the impetus to move forward again, because it's coming from the place of love. It's coming from the feminine energy, because it's the feminine that creates. It's Isis and Magdalene and Parvati, that creates. It's the divine feminine, it's the Shakti consciousness that creates, because the divine masculine has the ability to create, it has the knowledge, and it has the conscious potential, it has the, in a sense, the potential of consciousness, the potential creativity to manifest. But in a sense, it's all worthless, it's all pointless without the wisdom of the love, without the wisdom of the heart's wisdom, the heart's consciousness, the divine feminine, the love. Because in a sense, what is the point in manifesting without love? And this is the perfect example on planet Earth. Like, we've manifested all this great technology, rockets, computers, ships, technology, internet, but it's actually devolving our civilization. We're destroying the planet, we're polluting the seas, we're chopping down the rainforests, we're creating depression and anxiety, and everyone's on like anxiety pills or depressive or Prozac, and like the East is getting poorer, and there's wars in the Middle East, and so it's completely going in the wrong direction. And like, there's all these highly masculine imbalanced energies, like in these big war games, creating their super high-tech like secret space program flying crafts that can take out an entire country with a laser beam in 1 second. And of course, this is a fine example of an extreme imbalance towards the masculine, because we've got this huge creation, but it's not real creation, it's actually destroying. And it's a perfect example of what occurs when there's no love, no compassion, when we're missing the divine feminine aspect in the collective consciousness, in individual consciousness. We have all this technology, but it's actually destroying. It's not creating, it's destroying. We're imbalanced towards the masculine, and we're destroying our planet, we're destroying ourselves, we're destroying our civilization. And so it's a great example of what happens when you get an imbalance towards one aspect or the other. And so what is the answer? The answer is love, and the answer is compassion, and the answer is the divine feminine. And that's why the most important thing on the planet at this time is really well, I guess they're equal, but we're so imbalanced towards the masculine that we need so urgently to birth the love, the compassion, the goddess energy, the goddess frequency of Isis, of Sirius, of Mary Magdalene, of Shakti and Parvati. We need the love desperately. We need to bring the love back to the planet. This is what we're meeting. This is what we're missing. And the idea is that love should be the driving impetus. Love is the creative power of the universe. Love is the creative power of life. And we see this when we're growing plants. If you have a flower and you love it, it lasts for longer. You can experiment this yourself. You grow 2 flowers and send one hate energy and send one love energy, and like have one that you love and you keep in your room, and another one just stick it in a corner and don't really love it. And it's a great example of how, I mean, even if you give them like equal light, water, food, I'm sure you would see that the plant that is unloved would just like wither and die. So what we need is we need the love. We need the love. We've got no love. We've got no compassion. We've got no feminine. We've got no goddess energy. And this is why it's so important that we begin to respect the divine feminine, the goddess energy within us, and begin to embrace all the female teachers, the priestesses, as they may be called, the goddess, those women, because of course largely this divine feminine energy will be brought to the planet by the women of our world. And although the feminine and the masculine exist in both male and female, generally men are more oriented towards wisdom, and generally women are more oriented towards love. So I feel this is really a time when feminine teachings are becoming so important. It's like we've got the wisdom, we've got so much wisdom through like great teachers of self-realization, through great channeled material like the Ra material, the Bashar material, Cryon, all these great wisdom that's come from this masculine energy. And we've got the wisdom. We know what we need to do. We know how we do it. But I feel we need to nurture and grow this love within ourselves, open our heart up, open our heart chakra. And And of course, fourth density is the chakra of the heart, the chakra of the awakening of the heart chakra. So, thank you, Isis, for sharing this information with us. And thank you to Ra for pointing me in this direction. Thank you to Isis for inspiring me to talk about the divine feminine and love and compassion for humanity and creation and all beings. And so, let's have a look at the questions. Not getting so many viewers now. I think it's because it's summer. So we're having some great weather here in the UK. Got 17 viewers. I've had like 40 or more sometimes. Maybe it's not as exciting as a live stream on the event. Okay, so where are we? Ra being a blue avian back then too? Question mark. Because I've read somewhere that he was a golden luminous sun being. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm guessing so. That there are images of Ra as a blue being. I don't know if I have any images I can use. I don't want to. I only want to use licensed images. Did I get one as Ra as a blue being? I don't think so. So yeah, I mean, in a lot of the ancient Egypt, if you look at the a lot of the ancient Egyptian arts in the images and that, he's often portrayed in blue. You often see him represented in blue. So I'm guessing he was a blue avian back then. Topic: the famous Egyptian eye. The famous Egyptian eye. Did I get one of those? No. I almost did. Yes, so the famous Egyptian eye. Yeah, the Egyptian eye actually represents the pineal gland. So if you get an image of, so where to start? So the pineal gland is the third eye. So every chakra in our body has a gland that is connected to the chakra, that represents the chakra. And our third eye, the eye of sight, inner sight, you know, access to multidimensional reality, to the spirit world, and clairvoyance and visions. The third eye has a gland called the pineal gland and the pituitary gland centered right in the middle of our brain. And if you get a brain and you slice it in half and actually look at the pineal gland and the pituitary gland, they actually look just like the Eye of Ra and the Eye of Horus, the famous Egyptian eye. They are the same shape. So the Eye of Ra represents, it's a symbolic of the inner eye, the true eye, the eye of inner sight. And so I guess they've used it. I mean, this shows huge knowledge of ancient Egypt, because the third eye releases DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which is sometimes called the spirit molecule, because it enables access to other dimensions. This is what creates visions. When you're clairvoyant and you see images in meditation, it's because your pineal gland is releasing DMT, which is the chemical which allows your brain to tune into other dimensions. And so obviously the ancient Egyptians knew this, and so it's another sign of the wisdom of ancient Egypt. So that's one thing I know about the Egyptian eye. And so look it up, the Eye of Horus or the Eye of Ra, and look up an image of the pineal gland in the brain, and you will see that they are the same. I heard that Egypt is pivotal to our planet's ascension. Once the ancient wisdom is activated, our planet will change drastically. Do you have more insight as to what is laying dormant there? Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, Bobby, because I actually talked a little bit about this yesterday. I made a video on ancient Egypt yesterday as well, and in that video I talk about, I mean, this is really what's caused this impetus for me to start talking about ancient Egypt, and me to start sharing this information that just came to me the last 2 days. I made a quick video on my phone yesterday, so check out the video from yesterday where it talks about this. I just got this feeling, this sensing that that Egypt and ancient Egypt is key. Exactly what you say, Bobby. I heard that Egypt is pivotal to our planet's ascension. This is the feeling I have. I mean, it's fairly obvious in a way that it's going to play some role, because there's so much wisdom there and so much knowledge that relates to our ascension into fourth density, the fifth dimension, because in a sense they came from that reality. They existed in a higher consciousness, because the wisdom of ancient Egypt was passed down from Atlantis when our reality was in a higher dimensional state, a higher state of consciousness before. So yeah, and I'm not sure exactly how it's going to play out. I just know I'm just feeling really drawn to talk about this at the minute. And it feels like something's happening now. It's like this pivotal role that Egypt has to play in our planet's ascension is happening now, and this is one of the reasons I'm talking about this now. It's yeah. So I'm not really sure what to say, but I agree. Yeah, I feel. So, do you have more insight as to what is laying dormant there? Well, the teachings of ancient Egypt are extremely powerful, and yeah, and I think why it will be pivotal in the ascension of this planet is because all this information that's coming through now through channeled material like the Ra material, through Bashar, Abraham Hicks, and Cryon, and all these great channels, and including like non-dual teachings and self-realization teachings of the East. All these teachings that we are now implementing in our lives, it's almost like a lot of us have been doing it blind. We didn't really have the evidence that it will work. We were just going with our intuition and our knowledge, our inner knowledge, that there was some deep wisdom in this reality that would serve us. And as we explored these teachings and begin to implement these channeled teachings in our lives, we come to see that it transforms our lives so powerfully. Like, we go through these huge transformations of consciousness. We realize our multi-dimensional infinite self. We realize our ability to manifest our reality. We see how we create our reality within our consciousness from thought form, as Ra says. But where this is powerful is that these teachings are embedded into the culture of ancient Egypt, and we're beginning to see that, like the temples and the pyramids, like the temple of Luxor, it's and all these temples, the entire temple is sharing this knowledge, sharing this wisdom. Like the temple of Luxor is sometimes called the temple in man, because it's pointing, like the entire construction of the temple of Luxor, Egypt, one of the initiatic temples, it's actually built on sacred geometry to represent the human body. Like every bit of the temple of Luxor is a manifestation of the human body, a physical representation of the human body, and it all describes and it shows how the human body is a temple, the temple in man. The temple of Luxor is the temple in man, and the temple in man is the realization that we are divine beings, that we are made in the image of God, that we have infinite consciousness within ourselves. And all these teachings are embedded in ancient Egypt, and we can see, like, when we begin to study ancient Egypt and these ancient texts and the temples and the structure of the temples and the pyramids and the symbolism and what it's representing from a self-realized perspective, from an enlightened perspective, from an understanding that we are infinite conscious creators of our own reality, when we begin to explore the ancient Egyptian teachings from this perspective, we see that they are pointing to exactly the same things that we are learning, that with these realizations about our infinite nature as creators, thought form creators of our reality. We're coming to see that these teachings are real, and they are taught in ancient Egypt, and all the pyramids, all the temples, all the scriptures, their entire society. Like modern ancient Egyptian scholars tell us that they were like lowly evolved beings, and they worshipped gods like demigods because they had no understanding of the nature of reality, and they were like superstitious and all this stuff. They try to put it down. But as we begin to explore it, we come to see that every single aspect of ancient Egypt was pointing us back to the divine wisdom within ourselves. I mean, it's becoming a bit of a joke now. I mean, the Egyptologists and the mainstream science and all this and the media can continue to hold on to their rhetoric that it's a load of nonsense, a load of mumbo jumbo, a load of superstitious stuff. But the funny thing is, like, as we begin to ascend in consciousness, as we begin to have these realizations of our true nature, we can see with our own eyes that every single aspect of ancient Egypt was like a divine ritual. In a sense, the entire existence of ancient Egypt was one gigantic ritual act of magic. The ancient Egyptians viewed reality as one gigantic act of magic, and everything they did was done out of ritual, out of wonderment to the divine, the realization that this reality is one thought form, a thought form created reality. Our entire reality is one gigantic act of magic. And this is imbued in every single aspect of ancient Egypt, from the hieroglyphs to the pyramids to the temples to the way they acted to their society. And of course, more so in the origins of Egypt, the older dynasties, because we went through this cycle of like 12,500 years ago. We were at the peak of the evolution of humanity in that cycle, and in Atlantis. And the wisdom of Atlantis was passed down and held onto through what is known as the followers of Horus, the followers of Ra. And this divine wisdom was kept and held and passed down into ancient Egypt. So it was already devolving, it was already becoming more distorted, as Ra would say, as consciousness, as time progressed. So we see this consciousness in the early dynasties, the very beginnings of ancient Egypt. We see so powerfully this divine consciousness imbued into every aspect of Egyptian life. So I think this is why Egypt will be so pivotal in Earth's ascension, because what people are going to realize is that everything we're learning now about reality creation, about our self-realization of our self as infinite creators, of ourselves made in the image of God, as ourselves as pure consciousness, the one creating in form moment to moment through our thought form. As we come to realize this, we come to see that ancient Egypt knew all this thousands of years ago, and they didn't put it out for everyone to say. They hid it in their symbolism and their temples, but it's so obvious the more we study this. And I think this is why it's so powerful and going to be so pivotal in the ascension of humanity, because it's like going to be proof. It's an opportunity to prove that we create our reality. It's an opportunity to prove that the knowledge that is being brought through by channels now has been known about on this planet for many thousand years. And if you're interested to explore like ancient Egypt, you can play a part in this, of uncovering the hidden wisdom. And like, there's so many great people like John Anthony West and his documentary Magical Egypt. I just suggest you check that out, and his previous work on the Mystery of the Sphinx, and where he shows that the Sphinx was actually water weathered, but it hasn't rained in Egypt for like over 7,000 years. So it can't possibly have come from the era that they say it did. It must be much older, because it has water. It has precipitation erosion, rainfall erosion on the Sphinx, and the work of Graham Hancock and people like this who are talking about the truth of Egypt. It's like we're beginning. It's like, I guess it's a reflection of as we come to understand that we are creators of our own reality, as our collective consciousness evolves into the realization that we are non-physical beings creating our reality, we're beginning to get the reflection back in the realization that we are able to prove it in ancient Egypt. We're able to prove this through quantum physics. So perhaps this is the secret. I believe the pyramids were connected in a way that they aren't now, and when they are reactivated, it will propel us into the higher dimensions. Yeah, I'm not sure. Perhaps. I think it's perhaps more likely that we're just not able to use the consciousness of the pyramids because we don't truly understand how to use it yet. We need to activate the wisdom of the pyramids within ourselves, perhaps. Love yourself first, for sure. Yeah, it's like it's a real part of the realization of the goddess of the divine feminine within ourselves, and realizing unconditional love within ourselves. It's really the first step to realize it within ourselves. Unconditional love for self. When you love yourself unconditionally, you love everything unconditionally because you're in bliss. And what is there left to do but to love and create and serve? Hey Chelsea. I heard that letting go of your fears will completely decalcify the pineal gland. Interesting perspective. Well, I guess if you have no fears, you have no negative beliefs, and if you have no negative beliefs, you are free. So the pineal glands will represent this, because of course our beliefs create our realities. So, and also as we let go of fears, when we have no fears, our consciousness rapidly accelerates, because that's the only thing that's holding our consciousness down, really, our fear. When we have no fear, our consciousness will go, and when our consciousness rapidly accelerates, it causes a natural detoxification of the body. So it makes a lot of sense. Why do you think there was such a sudden flourishing of civilization at different parts of the planet? Egypt, South America, Greece, Scotland, Mesopotamia, all around the same time? I think it was to do with knowledge from... I mean, I'm not sure there was a sudden flourishing of civilization. I mean, we're told there was a sudden flourishing of civilization, but I believe like civilization was much more evolved way before this from Atlantis. And you see this represented in like some of these amazing structures such as Göbekli Tepe and the temples in Giza. And so I think, you know, civilization already existed. It's just mainstream history denies this because they've got their agenda. So But I think what you're talking about, I think this civilization probably came from descendants of Atlantis, spreading out around the world, and those seeds managing to create these areas of civilization. Do you think Atlanteans that escaped the destruction of the continent had something to do with it? Ah, yes, yes. You read my mind, or I read your mind. Egypt is a special place. It is awareness of gold and all its properties in ascension. It is where gold is why the older eternal races live long, existing in physical form with gold. Ah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a power in gold. It's, I agree. It's a very high vibrational energy, and I think this is why it was so intrinsic to ancient Egypt, because they knew the divine properties of gold. The knowledge of the who is coming back from Egypt. I've not heard that term, the who, H-U. I don't know what that is. If all is consciousness, learning that we can create with thought forms will change our thoughts on creation. Yes. Hey Angelique. I have the feeling that there could be some sort of device is hidden inside the pyramids of Cheops that can be used as a device for communication, telepathy, and or teleportation. Yeah, I think this is quite likely because the Egyptians imbued... Hold on, I have a prop here. Oh my god, I've gone multi-dimensional. I'm back. Okay, so the Ankh. This was known in ancient Egypt as the most powerful. This was the most powerful of the tools in ancient Egypt, I believe. As I understand it, perhaps even more powerful than the Ark of the Covenant. Who knows? But how ancient Egyptians used these tools, these healing tools, this was very much used for healing as I understand it, was that they imbued their own consciousness in these tools. And the reason why the Ankh was revered as the most powerful magical tool in all of Egypt is because it symbolized the human. Because the human is the most powerful manifestation tool. If you look, you can see it looks a bit like a human. You know, it's got a body and arms and a head. So this is why the Ankh was revered as the most powerful tool in ancient Egypt, the most powerful magical tool in ancient Egypt, because it symbolized the human and it symbolized God in man. It symbolized infinity, infinite consciousness within man, because there is no more powerful magical tool than us, because we create our reality. We imbue the power in the tool. We create this reality. So we created this. So what they did was they created this symbol of God in man, the symbol of the divine consciousness, the temple in man, I guess, the divinity in man. And they used this symbol as a magic tool. And what they would do, I believe, is they would keep certain tools very sacred. Like they would have one of these, they would have their own one, and they would keep it in the most sacred place. They would keep it in like perhaps one of the chambers in the pyramids, and every day they would like meditate with it and worship it and send divine love to it. And of course, all things hold energy. Like, of course, like crystal skulls. As we know, hello, can you see me? As we know, crystals hold energy. As I'm sure most of you are aware, like crystals hold energy. If you like cleanse crystals in a beautiful place in nature, they hold that frequency. If you imbue them with love and consciousness, you work with them every day, they become more powerful and more energized and more vibrant. And also, if you have them near you when you're going through a rough period, they take on those energies as well. So we all know that like, crystal absorbs energy, and everything absorbs energy. And that's why when you go out in a city, you feel depressed, and when you're out in some beautiful place in nature, you feel elated, because the nature is a very pure, high vibrational energy. But in the city, it's all the concrete and the roads and the buildings, they're all imbued with the stress of people going to work and all the negativity. So everything in creation holds energy. Everything in creation, everywhere you go, absorbs your energy and the energy of everyone in it. And the Egyptians were, of course, well aware of this, so they were well aware of perhaps all the laws of creation. So what they would do was they would imbue their tools, imbue their magic. I don't think it's an amulet. An amulet wouldn't be right. Magic, I don't know what you'd call this. I think an amulet was different. Amulets for like protection or something. So they would imbue their magic tools, their healing tools, with the energy. They would hold them in the most sacred places. They would keep them in their temples. They would Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry, my camera died, so now you can see my green screen behind me, and I'm on my webcam now. So yeah. So the point was that the Egyptians would charge a lot of their magical tools with these magical powers. You can see my T-shirt now, if you like. So they would charge these tools up, and they would become very powerful and very magical. And so, yeah, I'm sure like the Ark of the Covenant and lots of other things like this supercharged. Because what they did was they charged up the Ark of the Covenant because they knew that humanity was going through this cycle, and they wanted to ground as much love and as much love-like frequency of divinity in Earth as possible. And this is why they created things like the Ark of the Covenant and imbued their consciousness into humanity. And why some of them, I believe, chose to be mummied, so that they would mummified, so they would keep their consciousness in humanity. And I believe that some of the things they would do in the mummification process would cause, I believe, they would take their heart out of their body and preserve their heart in a jar. And this would stop them from reincarnating, because you can't reincarnate until your heart is completely dissolved. And I believe they did this so they could keep their bodies and their consciousness in Earth, so they could keep this high frequency energy in the Earth. So yeah, I agree. I'm sure there's some super powerful stuff in the tombs. So thanks everyone. So I guess that's a good place to call it a day. So yeah, so just quickly, I've got the Learn to Channel course running again in June. I've run this a few times before. Like, it's over 3 sessions on Sunday evenings in June. 3 2-hour group conference calls over Zoom. So check out the links in the box below for the Learn to Channel course if you want to learn to channel for yourself. And I've also got the First Contact Play Shop with the Pleiadians coming up in a couple of weeks. Less than 2 weeks now. So if you're interested in that, there's also the link in the box below, or you can go to my website, jonathancmartin.com, and click live events at the top, and you'll see the First Contact Play Shop and the Learn to Channel course, and you can sign up for them both. And there's an early bird offer on both of them at present. And of course, I'm always doing private one-to-one Learn to Channel sessions, channeling sessions with the Yael, and everything I regularly do. So thanks guys. So Shivai, it's been a great live stream. I've really enjoyed this. Now I'm back in the flow because I've dropped everything and let the heart and the love come through. And Isis has inspired me to begin to channel in a more loving, compassionate way. So perhaps there'll be an Isis channeling coming up soon. So thanks guys, have a wonderful day. Shivai. Create love. Love is the key. Compassion is the key. Ignite the goddess within yourself. Become the love. Become the compassion. Become the womb that nurtures a new earth. Have a great day, everyone. I love you unconditionally with all my heart. Have a great day. Enjoy the bliss and love of Isis and the goddess. See you guys. Bye.